the beautiful sights of the forests here in South Africa. According to the South African Forestry Companies Limited, that's SAFCOL, the country's growth and development in forestry is unfortunately lagging behind the other BRICS countries. In a Forestry Industrialisation Conference that was held earlier this month, SAFCOL said that South Africa also lacks a wood culture society that highlights the value of our forests, of our trees, and the potential of a vast range of products that can be produced from it. So joining us this morning in studio is Lungile Mabece, who is the chairperson of SAFCOL, to educate us a little bit more about this. Good to have you. Thank you so much for coming into studio.
Thank you, Leanne.
So we, as South Africans, have plantation areas of 1.3 million hectares, which represents 1.1% of our land. The argument here is that that is not enough.
That's correct.
Okay. Why? Why do you think that this is, and where should the figure be sitting at?
In fact, we should be multiplying the figure that we have. Because, you see, if you look at South Africa and you compare it with countries like Iran, as an example, Iran has double the number. But if you look at Iran, it looks more like a desert.
It's true.
Yes.
I mean, you would never think they have that much forest.
Yes, and we import fig, which is basically coming from fig trees, from Israel, a desert. In South Africa, we say we shouldn't be planting more trees. That's what academics are saying. We shouldn't be planting more trees because we don't have water. Now, what's the difference? A desert and our situation there should be something wrong.
Yeah.
And we believe that what needs to happen is government, together with academics, the researchers, need to find a solution. In fact, the industry has started with redesigning some of the trees. We have hybrids. We have research and development that is taking place continuously.
Talk to us about these. Let's use your example of Iraq or Israel, that, you know, predominantly desert countries. They have got more forests than we do, but the argument is that we are a water scarce country and we are having problems, I mean, that we don't need to talk about. But how do they get around that situation and grow their forests?
In fact, other countries will tell you that trees bring water, you know. And all what we need to do is we need to identify the type of trees that we need to plant in different areas of the country. Yeah. Instead of us saying we are a water scarce country that will not be planting trees. You know, I'm sure when you in your third year of schooling, you were told of how rain comes. And we see that in Mpumalanga. As one example, Mpumalanga is not one of those provinces that suffer drought the most. Yeah. And they have got the most trees in the country.
Yeah, yeah. So it's something that we need to consider, and that's something that we need to grow on. I mean, this, of course, at the end of the day, will add to the economy. It will create jobs. If something like this does go ahead and we can grow our forests and produce more, I mean, how many jobs do you think can be added into South Africa because of increasing forestry?
You know, when we increase forestry, our view is that when we talk about forestry, we must not just talk about trees, especially the plantations as we know them, commercial plantations, but we must talk about what is it that we do with them and how we treat the trees. At the moment, South Africa is very wasteful when it comes to trees. Yeah. You know, you start at 300%, you leave about 40% in field when you get those logs, and then out of those logs, you get about 40% out of the log after you have left 40% in field. In fact, in some of the sawmills, the waste is apparently up to 28%. So you get 28% of the product, 72% waste. It says we don't appreciate the value, and we have sawdust mountains all around our forests because we don't know how to use that sawdust. That is that can create a lot of jobs. Why are we not making wooden toys in South Africa? Why do we still have a lot of plastic toys filling our toy shops?
Because they're cheaper.
But you see,
and I'm saying it in a critical way because that is the reality, is that we're importing them, they're cheaper, they break, and they rubbish, a lot of these toys. But if we had to go and do what you're saying, I mean, the quality would be better, you would be creating jobs, and that again is an export opportunity for us.
Yes, we have a lot of unemployed people in the rural areas who come and stay in squatter camps. In the urban areas.
And immensely talented people.
And immensely talented people.
And if you're going through these areas and you see how they work with their hands and the creations that they do come up with, we never tap into that.
Yes.
This is their home, this is their land, and you can be able to sort of utilize it and let them create a living out of it.
Even creating, manufacturing pellets that could be used to make fire and stop people from going and fetch firewood, make their own pellets, use them and sell them as a business. You know, not only in South Africa, the whole world wants pellets. And yes,
I can see the opportunity in it, and I do understand it. But if we look at government's stance on this, I mean, what are they saying at the end of the day? Because you told us in the beginning they want to cut back because of the water situation. But are you getting anywhere with them with the discussion?
You see, as a starting point, we believe that there is no understanding of the value of forestry by government. No, because if there was, then there would be a lot of industrialization that would have taken place already. It would be encouraged. In fact, forestry would be one of those that are declared as strategic resources, the same as automotive industry. You know, if government understood it. But the second point is that today in South Africa, we don't build bridges with wood. We don't build schools, we don't build clinics with wood. If you try, you will be told that wood is in the list of undesirable material because we don't understand. And the rest of the northern hemisphere is building up to 70 to 80% of infrastructure with wood, including those bridges.
Housing as well.
Yes.
And housing is one of those industries as well, where you find that a lot of houses are built in wood. We're drawing a comparison between South Africa and BRICS countries. Are we lagging way behind them? Are we sort of right at the bottom when it comes to the rest of the BRICS nations?
We are right at the bottom.
Yeah.
In fact, the sizes of forests in the BRICS nations, China is number one in the world in terms of the percentage of forests, about 46% of the land area, followed by Russia, and then followed by Brazil. And we are there at the bottom. And we have opportunity because whilst we are at the bottom as South Africa, we are at the top in the continent. You know, we have something that we can do, and in fact, not only generate money for us in South Africa, but also bring us the foreign exchange that we need most for in the continent.
And it's also, just as we wrap up the conversation now, but it's also, is there enough land? I mean, do we have the availability of the arable land that is suitable for forestry?
There is enough land if there is the will. You know, there is enough land. In fact, between 1998 and 2015, there has been serious reduction of plantations. You know, in 1998, we had about 1.5. You mentioned now, in fact...
Down to 1.1.
Yes.
Has it gone even lower than what I've mentioned?
Yes, it's about 1.2 already.
Tell me, the kind of land we're talking about, is it government-owned land?
Okay, there is government-owned land. In fact, government has 17% of the forestry land in South Africa. About 10.1 is under SAFCOL management, and the rest is under municipalities and the province. And there's a portion under DAF, that's about 160,000 hectares. This is just government.
Okay.
And now if we want to plant trees, really, we'd also consider the rural communities. I'm sure a lot of rural communities would be very keen to plant trees around their fields.
Yeah.
Because they will also act as another way of generating money. But also, it's your life cover. Myself and you, we pay a certain amount of money to companies every month as life cover. The rural communities don't. And those trees would act as those life covers.
Yeah. It's an interesting conversation, it really is, and I must say, I mean, it's something that I've never really actively thought about, and I'm wondering if many other South Africans have actually thought about this issue, and I'm hoping that your discussions with government prove to become fruitful and we realize the extent of how much this can contribute to South Africa when it comes to industry and when it comes to job creation and the beauty of a forest. I mean, there's nothing nicer than going through forests and what it does to a landscape as well, and for the fresh air. It's a beautiful thing, it really is. So thank you for talking to us. It really is. It's a great initiative that the chairperson of SAFCOL here in studio talking to us about, Lungile Mabece, who is, of course, unfortunately talking to us about that lack of development. In fact, it's not the lack of development, it is diminishing. It used to be sitting at about 1.8% of our land space, and now it's gone all the way down to 1.1% and doesn't seem to be something that is growing, and we need to tap into that. Let's take a break here on Morning Live.